Now I know what you're thinking. It's not Saturday.
No.
No, no, you don't need to look at your calendars. Yes, it is a Wednesday.
What are we doing right now? What
But
day?
we
Oh my God.
it is
This
a
week,
Wednesday.
this week went by too fast.
Yeah. But we're here a little late than we
Yeah.
usually want to do these. I don't know how many times we'll be able to do it at like the first of the month, but
Mhm.
we missed February altogether. But we are
Yeah.
here, a podcast about movies, doing a February and March roundup, kind of talking to some of the new releases that we saw, which most of this list is going to be dominated by Austin, but that's okay. That's okay. I've spent
Okay.
most of the year so far catching up on older releases. I've watched a lot
Right.
of good, classics, and
Well,
I feel
you can know you're outpacing me in that department then, because yeah, I don't have that many. Yeah, as far as older first time watches, I've got 8. So
oh yeah,
yeah, I don't have that many in that department, but yeah, I'm far just seeing more new stuff. But that's okay. I'll
right,
catch up on older stuff on another slow portion of the year or something. One of those
right.
rolls around.
Yeah, so, but what I have seen, I'm
Mhm.
excited to talk about
Mhm.
the good, the bad, and the ugly. Not
Mhm.
that movie, but just
I saw a
think it's
movie that kind of
portrayal.
relates to that.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, no, as you can see, Austin is also here. Austin, how's it going?
No, no, man. Yeah, we were talking a little bit offline. I've been telling you guys, like, I think I've been overcompensating because I thought it was going to be a year with not much coming out. Or we all kind of thought that because of the
Yep.
strikes, everything getting pushed to 2025. I mean, there's going to be a lot in 2025. We already know that
Oh yeah.
because so many things got pushed back to that year. It's going to be maybe even overcrowded. But yeah, I was looking at this about the same time last year, and I had seen like 15 or 16, new releases, and I've got 31, at the same time. So yeah, maybe I'm just overcompensating and trying to just go out of my way to. I've been hitting the theater like at least twice a week, really. Whether it's the Regal Theater that I go to,
Mm,
or some of my art house theaters, just trying to see the smaller stuff,
yeah.
or just whatever the case may be. Just literally anything that comes out, I'm trying to like just get to the theater just to get those numbers. But yeah, I'm gonna way outpace last year if I keep this up for sure.
I'm looking good so far. I mean, I hit January really hard, but that was really easy because I was home a lot.
Right.
Um, and once February and March, like I was starting to look for a job because I didn't have that income coming in anymore. I couldn't babysit from home anymore. I had to go find a job, and so yeah, March has been busy with actually working, and I've started doing stand up comedy as well. So I've been doing that just about every Tuesday. Um, so that's taken a lot of time too, and
Mhm.
it's it's fun, but I love movies, and so I want to get back, try to make it back to the theater every once in a while. Now that I've got a
Yeah.
reliable job, I can finally do that.
Well, but I mean, you're also a guy that like, I know you have limited access to the theater just because of your transportation,
Right.
needs and whatnot. So I know you see a lot of stuff once it hits streaming. You're pretty quick to jump on things once
Yeah,
they
I try
are
to.
available. I know you're pretty good about that as far as, and to be fair, we're only in April, so like only those first 2 months of movies, are the only things really starting to hit the streaming services. I
Right.
mean, they
So I'll
come out
catch up pretty
fairly
soon.
quickly, but you catch up quick. I know you do, like especially near the end of the year, you get
Yeah.
caught up.
So we're gonna do this exactly like we did for January. We've got a tier chart. We've got a
Hmm.
list ready. And we're not doing your basic S A B C D tiers, F tiers. No, we've got some fun ones here. A little different from January, but I kept a few of them the same.
Hmm.
So oh, we have a contender on our hands. These are movies
Hey.
that they might make our top 10 at the end of the year. It depends on how the rest of the year goes. And then we have this in January that's not going to make my end of the year list, but
But
uh,
really good or really recommendable.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. You know what? I didn't hate that. Movies that they're about 50-50. Like
Pros and cons. Those
yeah,
like out of 10, those like 6 out of 10 type
yeah,
movies. It's like there's, overall positive, but not gonna go anywhere. I'll forget about them 2 weeks later. That sort of thing.
And then I added this one is the I'm conflicted movies where I liked them, but I didn't like them at the same time. I don't know if you have any like that. But there were
Um,
that I thought would fit that category. It's like, do I like it? Do I not like it? Am I positive on it? Am I negative on it? Or am I just kind of like,
I
where am I?
might have like two like that, maybe.
Okay.
It seems like or it seems like 5 out of 10 type movies, and then everything else is in the bottom thing or something like that. I am trying to see where I would like because I have my ratings or whatever, so like
Yeah.
where I would put them on the tiers. Like I would say probably that top tier is like your 9 and above type movies. The next ones are like
Mhm.
your 8, 8.5,
Yeah.
even 7.5, like strong 7.5 kind of stuff. Didn't hate that. It's like, yeah, your 6.5, 7,
Right.
kind of
Yep.
mid tiers. And then I'm conflicted. Yeah, maybe like 5, 5.5 sort of things. And then everything else essentially below that, where I'm like more negative than positive. Yeah.
Yep. And then but just below that, we've got the yep.
Yep.
That's a
That's a
movie.
movie.
And
That
then
happened.
and then finally, a special tier for a couple movies that came out that we've seen.
But
But
why?
why?
But
Why are
why?
these movies? We don't know.
Yeah.
And we've got a tier just for you. I was gonna put it for just one movie that both of us
Right. Yeah,
seen,
we'll
but
get
there's
there. We could have
another
just
one.
named a tier after that, but yeah,
Okay. But then I looked at it and I was like, no, I have another movie that's
yeah,
going in that same tier.
sure.
So um, yeah, we'll get started. Like I said, since you've seen a little bit more than me, I kind of rearranged the
Hmm.
movies so that all of the ones that you have seen
Oh,
are at
okay.
the top. Um, I,
Gotcha.
I start I start here at Mean Girls.
Oh, okay.
So all of these at the top. I hope I got the right poster for that any of
Well,
these.
but to be fair, you have a couple down there that I haven't seen, so I'll be
Right,
interested to hear
right.
about a few of them. So I know I overwhelm it, but again, I'm hoping I can at least let you know what movies to go out of your way to check out once they drop on the streaming services, or at least
Yeah, for sure.
recommendable stuff that will pass the time and entertain you, and then ones that maybe if you got nothing else going on, and then like those ones where it's like, yeah, you can skip that if you
If
come
if you want
across
to
it.
do a worst of the year list,
Yeah, right.
watch this movie.
Sure.
So, um, why don't we kick it off? And I mean, like, I kind of last year we kind of went just did it tier by tier. So if you want to do that again, I'm totally cool with that.
Oh yeah, no. So okay, so we're starting out with but why?
But
the
why?
I mean I think we know one that we could throw in that we'll just start with the one we could have named it after and we almost did. That's Tyler Perry's Mea Culpa. um this
Yeah,
movie is the definition of but why. I look, the Tyler Perry thing, I don't watch a lot of his movies. I've seen a couple of the Medea movies. I don't know if I can't remember if he directed like Temptation or those, trash thrillers that he's done. This is kind of in
mm,
that same vein of like those
yeah,
sort of erotic psychological thrillers. But here's the thing, it's not erotic, it's not thrilling, and it's not very competent either. The script here is bad. There's logical gaps the size of trains going into tunnels. It is there. There's really just overly stupid moments. Not even really spoil it, but if you know what I'm talking about, if you know, paint sex. That's all I gotta say. Really stupid.
so stupid.
Yeah, there's twists and turns that make zero sense involving like uh, what's her name? Destiny Kelly Rowland
Kelly Rowland.
is like the dumbest supposedly smart character you'll ever see in a movie. She's supposedly this like amazingly smart attorney or whatnot. Which, by the way, we never see her doing any lawyering, so that's mistake number one. You should at least have an opening scene with her being a good attorney, but they don't even do that in this movie.
No, it's open therapy.
You just assume that she is, and she makes really progressively dumber and dumber decisions, both involving the guy that she's defending and her family. Some family decisions she makes later. Again, plot conveniences left and right. There's unexplained threads that just get dropped by the end of the movie that they just totally forget about the girl. If you know what I'm talking about, the girl in question, we just move on. That all that stuff is bad. So yeah, this movie is bafflingly bad. But not in that way that I'm gonna go back and watch it again, like another movie I may talk
Never,
about. There's
never.
another movie that like is more of like my hypnotic kind of vibe that I may go back and watch again. That kind of bad. But yeah, Mea Culpa is pretty damn terrible. So yeah.
Yeah, and I'm there with you. I was watching this, and I think I messaged you while I was watching it,
Dude.
saying that I was an hour into this 2 hour movie, and I feel like I've been watching it for like 3 hours.
Yeah.
And it goes by at such a gruelingly slow pace. The writing is not good.
I think I texted
The
you and I was
twist
like, this script, this is like a parody script, right? Like
it has to have been
this is
like I
like
don't
make you because they literally have that thing that I talk about in movies that I hate, that tropey thing of like when you introduce these characters, they talk to each other as if they recap their entire relationship every time they meet up, which is stupid. Which would be like if me and you, Jacob, like came in today and we're like, oh hey Jacob, what's going on? So we first met back in the thing, we were on tournament fights together, and then we talked offline about this, and welcome to podcast about movies. Like nobody talks like that. What are you doing?
no
Yeah.
no it's bad writing. It every time we're in the dude's apartment, it's way too dark. There's like just I don't like that choice. Yeah, the paint sex is stupid. The twist at the end is stupid. This movie is stupid. And I used to be able to defend Tyler Perry. It's like I know Medea is not for everyone, but some of it's funny. And then he goes
Well,
and makes
I
movies
could
like
understand why people like the Medea movies. There's an
yeah,
audience for it.
right.
I get it. You know what I mean? Like I could at least understand those. But these like really bad thrillers that he makes that are just really dumb. Like I don't know where. I don't know. This is probably, I mean, easily the worst thing he's ever done. Maybe. I mean, and I've seen Boo a Medea Halloween. Like
Mhm.
this might be worse. Like I think it is.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, this is it's trash. It's bad.
I I often wonder what his career would be like if he was just an actor.
Yeah, I think it would be better. Now, no, he wouldn't have the same money in the production studio, but but I don't mind some of his acting, like when he does do it outside of Medea. Like he's not bad, but
No,
I think he has his own production studio, Jacob, and his own thing. He's his own boss, so he doesn't have
right,
any people to say no or that's a bad idea, or he's surrounded by yes men. It's the problem when you have your own thing and you run the entire show. You don't have anybody to tell you that that's a bad idea.
right. So maybe he should.
Yeah,
Um,
maybe.
yeah. Yeah. No, I definitely agree with this one. Mia culpa in the but why.
Uh-huh.
Another one that belongs in the but why category, and I think the answer to the question but why is because I think there's a new series coming out. But that doesn't excuse Megamind versus the Doom Syndicate because this movie is
You mean it's not a 5 out of 5
terrible.
plus?
It's not a 5 out of 5 plus. They bring back zero. I'm pretty sure, yeah, zero of the original voice actors from the 2010 film, which I absolutely enjoy. I love Megamind, that first movie with Will Ferrell, Brad Pitt, and yeah, just such a great voice cast. Um, yeah, it's not the same voice, and you can tell. And I don't think he's having as much fun. Will Ferrell, even though Will Ferrell doesn't like really change his voice up, it's like he brings something to the character. And you're like, oh yeah, no,
Mhm.
I hear Will Ferrell, and I hear fun. Um, yeah, I think the Tina Fey was the voice in the original. I don't even know who they got for this one.
Bunch of jabronis is what they
Yeah,
got for this one.
it's the story is just stupid. It makes no sense. It's like 80 minutes too, but again, much like Mia Culpa, it does not go by at a quick pace like that first Megamind movie does. Um, maybe this movie is targeted towards kids because I'm pretty sure there's a new TV series coming out, and that's fine. But at the same time, what you so the original, the first movie was so good, and now
Yeah.
it has to be like, hey, oh yeah, we have a sequel. It's Megamind versus the Doom Syndicate. Um, that's not a good legacy to leave. Like if you like,
Mm,
I understand that this is a property that can spawn TV shows and whatnot,
mhm.
but at the same time, do it right.
Well,
Do it
and they've
well.
done like, didn't they do like a How to Train Your Dragon TV show and like a Kung Fu Panda TV show? And apparently like they're decent, like they're not the greatest thing ever,
Yeah,
but apparently like they're at least
they're passable.
faithful to the thing and like they try,
Right.
it's like back in the day, like the Aladdin TV series. Like, was it the greatest thing ever? No, but like they tried and like
Yeah.
it fit the same universe and like felt like the same thing, roughly.
Yeah. And I don't see that here. Like the only thing that you know brings it back to the original, the characters named the same. It doesn't have the same fun. It's just bad.
Mhm.
Um, I watched it the day it came out, and I immediately went to Letterbox, and it was just getting nothing but negative reviews. I thought a movie that we haven't talked about yet was going to be um, my worst so far. The
Right.
two movies that we have talked about are currently below. These are my bottom two
Yeah.
of the year, and if anything is worse than this, I will be surprised because I
Founders Day
don't.
is still my worst of the worst so far. It's going to be
Okay,
hard to top that for me. Just again, as a more of a horror fan,
right.
I'm more of a horror fan than you. So like when I see a truly awful movie that I almost believe was a Tubi movie that they pushed into theaters for a little bit, like if Founders Day had been a movie that just dropped on Tubi and like didn't make it, it's like that old thing. Like if a tree falls in the woods and nobody's around to hear it, like did it, like, did it really happen?
Doesn't make
That sort
it.
of thing.
Yep.
Like, who gives? Like, if it just dropped on Tubi and like I didn't watch it, like who gives a shit? But like they actively Regal had it as their mystery movie. They put it in theaters for like a week.
Right.
Like, so now you get my scrutiny. Like, and now I notice you. Now I see you. So like that's still my bottom, but Mia Culpa's close, and there's one other movie that's just a hair above Mia Culpa that we
Right.
haven't that we can talk about it, but what we're gonna talk about.
Right. Yeah. So Mega Man versus the Doom Syndicate. Do not recommend it.
No,
If you like the character of Mega Man, go watch the Will Ferrell
yeah,
voice
just
Mega
rewatch
Man.
that one. Yeah,
So all right. Um, are we adding another movie to this tier?
yeah, we're putting Madam Web in there. Yeah, I
What?
am. At least I am because
Yeah.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
this movie is stunningly incompetent as well for a big. This is the one in this tier, the big budget movie. You know what I mean? These other ones are like kind of Mega Mind. You can tell had a $10 budget. Mia Culpa.
Probably.
Was probably made for 10 million bucks or so, whatever. Just Tyler Perry's own money. This is the big budget one, the one that cost 100 million plus, whatever, and is you just wonder somebody saw this final product and went, yeah, that'll do. And saw the bad ADR from the villain and saw the bad editing and
Mhm.
saw the incompetent dialogue and saw like the plot conveniences and saw the product placement that's horrendous with the Pepsi stuff, and just saw like just the bad action and just the plotting and said, okay, yeah, that'll work. This movie's so stupid. It's so stupid. I was just shaking my head the whole time. I laughed out loud several times at the stupidity of this movie, at some of the plot twists and turns that they take in this movie. Dakota Johnson looks like she wants to be anywhere else other than this
Don't blame her.
movie. And she has pretty much said as much in post interviews since the movie has come out that, yeah, she's just like, yeah, I'm never going to do one of those again. I'm going to stick to doing my indie movies. And I'm like, probably a good idea. Sydney
Yeah.
Sweeney came out unscathed as well because she pretty much just missed the movie as well. She was just like, yeah, I wanted to put on a superhero outfit, and we got what we got, and I'm moving on. So she's come out unscathed. Like some of these people, have escaped too much scrutiny because they've kind of joined in on the ridicule to a degree, and acknowledged that it's
Mhm.
a bad movie. I mean, she even made the SNL joke. She's like, "Oh yeah, it was in Madam Web." None of y'all saw it. Okay, moving on. It was a funny joke, acknowledging the flop that it was, and yeah, it's just piss poor. It's a really piss poor super excuse for a superhero movie, and it's kind of everything that's wrong with these lazy movies that used to be able to print money with these movies, Jacob. Like, but I think people have had enough of this shit. I know I have. I've had enough of these lazy ass superhero movies, man.
Mhm.
So yeah, I'm done with them.
I agree. I I do think if you made this like a comedy or something with
Hmm.
Dakota Johnson and Adam Scott, like you can still use like the visions or whatever.
Hmm.
Maybe something there, but when you add everything that you mentioned
Yeah.
into this, it's not good. And
No.
yeah, I don't blame her for not wanting to do one of these again. And good on them for not having a post credit scene because there is no need for a follow up.
Nobody cares. Nobody
End this
cares.
now. Hopefully, Craven is better than this. I'm still looking forward to that, but
Yeah,
my
that one at least with the R rating intrigues me, and it looks like it could
right,
be at least like similar to Venom, and that it could maybe be kind of a schlocky good time. Like I like those
yeah,
Venom movies because they don't take themselves too seriously, and they kind of know what they are, like kind of this buddy movie, that gets over the top and kind of wacky, but like they kind of almost acknowledge that in the movie. So I'm kind of hoping for
mhm,
that sort of awareness from Craven. We'll see.
yeah, and it's
Yeah, I don't
Aaron
know.
Taylor Johnson, so I he
Yeah,
has me a
yeah,
little. I've liked what he's done lately.
sure.
I thought he was the best part of a Bullet Train.
Yeah, he's one of the better. He's probably why they're considering him for Bond is because
Yeah,
that bullet train thing. Like yeah. I mean, we'll see what happens with that.
so absolutely agree with the but
Mhm.
why here for Madam Web. Um, I don't personally have anything else for the but why tier. Do you?
No, we can scoot up to the next one for that because I've got immediately got one for the next one though,
All
as
right.
far
So
as the ratings go.
when you
You
get
could. Yep, that's a movie you could throw Imaginary in there.
okay,
Uh,
that's what
Yeah.
I thought.
So, and the only reason it's not going in the but why thing because it's a very bad movie. But it's that bonkers bad that I kind of love sometimes.
Mm,
This has the same kind of affected on me. The more I think about it, that Hypnotic did from last year, and you know me, I was singing the praises of Hypnotic. Not that it was a good movie. I was singing the praises of like this is the bad one. You got to see like if you're going to see one of these, this is the wacky one. Because yeah, this is the one that has yeah, again, a twist that makes no sense in retrospect. You have all the tropey stuff you get in all these horror movies with like the neighbor who knows everything, who just speaks in exposition every time she sees somebody. You get the very cliche characters like the angsty teen who doesn't like adults, Jacob.
oh,
Ew, you adult, ew. Just like I hate, like it's just so cliche.
get out of here,
Um,
grown ups.
yeah, it's just grown-ups, gross. Like it's got a plot, a subplot with a boyfriend that goes nowhere that just ends on like a punchline and then goes nowhere. And then you have a third act of this movie, which is what really sets it apart. Because really, it was kind of just boring up until then. I thought it was going to be like Night Swim, but then you have a third act that goes so over the top and bonkers that's where I started to have a little fun with it. And that like it's not good. It's just like, oh my god, what is happening? This is ridiculous. That's oh my
Mm,
god, that happened, and that happened, and that happened, and they have one at least decent looking practical bear. So like that gets at least a point. Yeah, no, this movie is bonkers bad, and if you know horror movies and you know all the cliches and the tropes, you could have fun with some of the script of this one. And like I said, that third act goes so far off the rails that it's kind of stunning to watch and kind of epic in that way. So I can at least recommend that. Like when it comes to streaming, this is one where I would say you can probably have a fun bad time with this, if that makes
okay.
sense. So yeah, and Jeff Wadlow, who made this movie, he's a bad director anyways, but he's made his I told you guys his masterpiece of bad of just like all the right pieces to make a pretty epically awful movie. So yeah, I'll put Imaginary in that tier.
All right.
Yeah.
Um, I've only really got one,
Okay.
for this tier, and I don't know if you'll
I got one other
agree.
one, but you go with what you're going with.
Yeah, it's a one, and I'm willing to concede, or go somewhat a different tier for this, but Drive Away Dolls.
I really
Uh,
like Driveway Dolls, so I think
I
we're going to disagree on this one.
okay,
Yeah.
yeah, because I I finished watching it, and like this exact line came out of my mouth. I was like, "Yep, that's a movie."
Mm.
Um, I don't know what it was about this movie, but it was just like I wasn't entertained. I thought I didn't like the characters. I don't think they worked well together for me personally. Um, and I love that there's a gay movie that people can get behind. I'm all for that. Like I love representation, absolutely. Um, I don't know, like I didn't like the premise of this movie. And then I guess just what was in the briefcase.
That
Just
was what made the movie for me, is that they just went so wacky with it and so off the again crazy with it. Look, I like Driveway Dolls. I thought it was clever and fun for what it was. I'm not much of a Coen Brothers guy. I know this is just Ethan Cohen. It isn't both of them. And it's just one of his like passion projects and whatnot. Because it's just this like buddy sort of road movie, with these two girls kind of going on this trip and then getting mixed up, with some wacky characters. But I like the fact that they didn't take itself too seriously at all. You had some really clever stuff where I thought the Joey Slotnick character, like the henchman, was just constantly trying to like talk to people normally, while his buddy was always trying to like beat people up. And he's just always trying to like, like just
did like
talk to
that part of
people
the movie. I
like a
did like
human
this.
being, just like, no, let's just figure out like what happened here and blah blah blah. Like that was fun. Margaret Qualley, her accent and stuff is so like silly and over the top, but I think intentionally so, to where it's just she's doing this caricature, but I thought it was really entertaining. And forgive me the girl's name, but the girl from Blockers, that she's with, they just had this kind of straight man, wacky person kind of quality to them, and I really like their back and forth and their interactions. And the twist of like what was in the briefcase I thought was clever and funny, and again just silly. Like I found myself chuckling a lot, and I think it was just a really sort of breezy comedy. Dude, it's like 80 minutes. This movie was like, this was great. Like I was in and out of the theater. It knew what it was. It didn't overstay its welcome. You had a couple of cameos just pop in and out. Some people you like that just pop in and do something fun and then leave. I really liked it. So maybe we disagree on this one, but I would recommend this one at least as a streaming movie. Like I enjoyed it.
So what tier would you put it in?
I would put it in the, I didn't hate that tier.
All right, so
Well,
I'm
actually, maybe even above that. I might even put it in the not going to make my end of the year list, but because I think I had it at like a 7.5, so that's probably in
okay.
that tier. So yeah, I mean, it's going to be, between or whatever. But yeah, well, we can put it in the I'm conflicted because we're conflicted.
We're
Because we're both
conflicted,
conflicted.
so that seems
We have
perfect.
conflicting opinions, so that's
There we
fine.
go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. Yeah, like I
Yeah.
said, just kind of like tier ranker fights. We can come to
Sure.
an
Sure.
average on these.
Uh-huh.
Also, I think this is like the first time we've disagreed. I think we pretty much agreed on everything for
Most of
for
the first show,
January.
we were at least close, or like maybe one tier off, but not
Yeah.
much, just like a little bit. I had one other one for the Yep, That's a Movie. And that was the American Society of Magical Negroes. That was in that tier as well. Because
All right.
like it's not like a horrendous movie or anything like that, like technically made, acting wise and whatnot. It has a clever enough first, I would say, half an hour, where they're kind of introducing the society and David Allen Greer's kind of being, the teacher and whatnot, and teaching Justice Smith everything. But after that, it becomes the most boring rom-com you've ever seen in your entire life, and just
Mm.
really, really plain. They do nothing with the premise of the society like at all. They just like almost drop it altogether. He's not doing a bunch of like magic, throughout the movie, or doing anything big. It's just this like love triangle rom-com thing that's really, really stupid. And then they try to shoehorn in a lot of social commentary in the last 5 minutes, like just slam it in there. So yeah, this movie's not great. And I think, the fact that it was in theaters for like a week, tells you a lot.
Oh wow,
That
yeah.
this movie got dismissed almost immediately, and it could have been clever in a few ways here and there. So not the worst thing I've ever seen, but yeah, not good, not worth checking out. No.
All right, I will keep that in mind because I was interested, but
Yeah.
and I may still like it. Like maybe one of my goals this year is to see enough to have a bottom 10 that's actually bottom 10. Like I like this year,
Yeah. Yeah.
this or for 2023, I had a bottom 10, obviously,
Mhm.
because that's how lists work. But like 8 through 10 were still movies that I gave like 3 out of 5s
Yeah, no,
to.
I've got three
So,
or four already. I could definitely put on a top 10 like so far, and then we'll see. There's plenty of year left to go. I'm sure there'll be some more as the year goes along. Seems to be at least one a month, which is what I'm looking for. And then I have enough for a bottom 12. But yeah, that's all I had for the yep, that's a movie one. I think we could step up to the conflicted one,
all
uh,
right.
and scroll up to that one. But I don't know. Did you have anything for that, or did you want me to go?
I had one for the
Yeah.
I'm conflicted, and it's a movie called The Tiger's Apprentice that was
Okay.
streaming on Paramount.
Mhm.
Um, because it's got a really interesting premise in that this kid who is living with his grandma, and there's all these animals. um he's part of like this long lineage of like these magical protectors. um Interesting premise. Kung fu, it's like Kung Fu Panda esque
Mhm.
in that there's martial arts and stuff like that. um
The title seems like if you mixed Kung Fu Panda and The Sorcerer's Apprentice into a movie.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
that's kind of a good way to put it, actually. um but it's a movie with an interesting premise. I feel like this is underseen too, so I don't want to go like into too many
Mhm.
details because I do feel like it's a movie that people should watch and like form their own opinion on, because I do think the animation is nice. I like the animation to it. I think this movie would work really well as like a live action. I think with what today's like CGI and stuff can do.
Mhm.
I thought it would have been really cool as live action. And who knows, the way they make live action remakes, it's not outside the realm of possibility.
Yeah, right.
uh, but yeah, it was an interesting premise. Um, I feel like they just didn't do enough with it. But again, I love the animation. I
Mhm.
think when they do have these action sequences, they're really good, but the story around it just kind of falls a little bit flat. And
Mhm.
so that's why I'm like, did I like this or did
Yeah.
I not like this? And it's like, so I gave it a positive score because I do think I was a little more positive on it than I was negative. I gave it a 3 out of 5.
Mhm.
Um, it's like, I don't know, were they trying to set up a series? Or are they trying to set up a franchise here? Um, because like there's just so many characters that they can go into. There's like 12 like animals that they use. The tiger is just the main character in this one. So like it felt like they were trying to set up what could be a franchise. I don't know. It's kind of hard to. I think it's kind of hard to gauge that when it's a a streaming movie. It's like, all right, is this movie successful? Like, I don't know how they gauge that.
Yeah.
Like
I still don't
free
know until
views.
they release like actual streaming numbers, which I think
Yeah,
is harder and
exactly.
harder to do, but I think there's something that just passed or some lawsuit or something to where they're going to have to start releasing those numbers, for real. I forget what it was related to, something related to Disney and Disney
Mhm.
Plus. But yeah, I think yeah, you never know with like a movie, like how many people actually watched it. Did they watch the whole thing? Did they turn it
Right.
off? Are they watching it multiple times? Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. But yeah, I thought the voice cast was pretty decent. Henry Golden is the giving the voice here. Lucy Liu. Um, yeah, Sandra Oh, Michelle Yeoh. Like, yeah, it's got really a really solid voice cast who does a really good job. But again, the story that's surrounding like the action
Mhm.
is just falling a little bit flat. Like I wanted more. And I felt like there's some areas that they could explore that they just didn't quite get to. Um,
Mm.
like like the movie starts with him as a baby, and you know his grandma's taking care of him, but we don't know like how it got to that point. We don't know how grandma is part of this society or whatever. Like, and it's not one of those things too. Like we were talking about with Mia Culpa, where they add that into the writing, but they don't add that into like there's no flashbacks. There's nothing like
Yeah, no character
how's
revelations that would
yeah
allude to it or
nothing.
something later. Yeah,
Yeah.
things like
So
that. Yeah.
yeah, so I just it felt a little bit lazy when it comes to the story, like I said, but action, good animated action sequences, good fight choreography as far as animation goes, but just a lackluster story, and I don't know how to feel about this one. So
Yeah.
that's what I have for the I'm conflicted.
Okay. I might have two for this, maybe three. I'm conflicted on which one. There's another one I don't know whether or not to put in there. Two for sure. I'll start with Lisa Frankenstein.
Okay,
Wasn't a big fan of Lisa Frankenstein. But
I
again,
meant
not
to watch it, just didn't get to
but
it.
yeah, but not the worst thing. I think there's some clever ideas here. They're really trying to hit the 80s vibe, which I do think they hit as far as like the way the movie looks and feels and whatnot, the soundtrack, like they do nail a lot of that. The main problems with this movie is that it's trying to be like five different movies at once. It's trying to
Hmm.
be this like Frankenstein creation movie. It's trying to be like like a high school rom com thing. It's trying to be like a revenge horror movie. It's trying to be like a bouncy friend, Mean Girls type movie. Like, I don't know what it's trying to be. And in 85 minutes, again, I appreciated the shorter runtime. I really do. But like, I don't know. I just found myself just shaking my head in the theater, just going like, I don't know what I'm supposed to get out of this. Like, what am I there's nothing to latch on to. Again, okay performances and whatnot for what it is, but there's also radical tonal shifts too. Like sometimes it's a goofy comedy and sometimes it gets really hardcore and violent and stuff, and I'm just like, okay, all right, so we're gonna be this movie now for a couple of minutes. So yeah, again, pick a lane. Pick a lane movie. It's all I'm usually asking is to like pick a lane and go for it.
Right.
It just sometimes it's like this year's Mafia Mama. Like Mafia
Mhm.
Mama last year was the tonal movie where I was like, I don't know
Right.
who this movie's for. I don't know what this movie's trying to be. Who would really enjoy
Yeah.
this.
And Cocaine
Um,
Bear was kind of like that too. With the
yeah, it's
are we a
just
horror movie or are we a comedy? I
yeah,
don't know
I
what
don't
we're
know.
doing.
Yeah, Cocaine Bear is like, I don't know, like pick a lane and stick with it, one or the other. Yeah, trying to play in too many lanes. So yeah, Lisa Frankenstein, it's like, again, not like horrible. You could do worse on a streaming service, but yeah, I didn't dig it. I wasn't vibing with it. So
Yeah.
that's that. And the other one is Bob Marley, One Love, probably one of the more disappointing ones of the year,
Mm.
because it just hits so many of the cliches that Walk Hard, Dewey Cox just completely annihilated like almost 20 years ago at this point, to where I just can't watch these music biopics that have the same plot beats over and over and over. They literally do these types of scenes, Jacob. They have two scenes in this movie that are right out of Walk Hard. They have a scene where he's like younger with a band and they're in a studio playing a song and the band manager is like shaking his head like, no, you guys don't. And he starts to walk out and he literally walks out the door and they start playing a different song and he like peeks his head back in the door like he's interested again. It's exactly out of Walk Hard. Same exact scene when they're playing the pizza pie song and then they start playing Walk Hard, and the guy perks back up. Like it's the same scene. And they have a scene where Bob Marley's making up a song on the spot and all of a sudden everybody in the room starts singing the song with him and like making up and knows exactly where he's going with the song. Like I was just like hitting my head like, what are we doing? I guarantee that didn't happen in real life. Like, what are we doing, dude?
Yeah.
Like I don't understand this. They build up to a peace concert that we get no footage of. Like they build the whole movie to this peace concert, and they show 2 minutes of it, and I was like, what was the point? You were building up this thing the whole time, and then you just glide right over it. Like I don't understand some of the choices, but like the soundtrack is good. The performances I think are good, but it's hard to understand because I couldn't understand a word he said half the time. I desperately needed subtitles for this. If you're gonna watch this, my God, wait for a streaming service and watch it with subtitles because I could not understand what they were saying half the time. And I know that's me being ignorant American or whatever, but like, I'm sorry. Sometimes it's authenticity can hurt. And when the accents are this authentically like Jamaican, I literally couldn't understand half of what they were talking about. They would have conversation and it'd be like, it was good. And I was like, what? I didn't understand word you just said. So very, very hard to catch like all the dialogue. It just, a lot of cliche here, but I mean, it's good to look at. It's well shot technically and everything, I can't complain about that aspect of it. But yeah, just another one of your just standard biopics that just doesn't do anything new. I'm worried about that. I'm worried about that Amy Winehouse one, like, cause they got another one coming soon. That Back to Black or whatever it's called. Yeah. So I don't know. Like we'll see how that. I think that one's more of a limited. I think they're trying to focus on more of like the lead up to that particular album or something. I think so. Sometimes biopics are a little bit better when you just focus on like we talked about with Stan and Ollie, like just a certain period of time, with maybe a flashback or two kind of mixed in. But like when you're honing in on a particular event or something, that's a little bit better. But yeah, this movie just didn't do a lot for me.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah.
And now I still
I'm conflicted on scroll up a little bit. What's the next one say?
You know what? I didn't hate that.
So I'm conflicted whether or not to put Argyle in the I'm conflicted or the I didn't hate that tier. I'm very conflicted even now. So maybe I'll get you. Did you see Argyle?
I haven't seen it, no.
I'm gonna be the one a little bit in the minority and say, you know what, I didn't totally hate that. Like it's like a 6 out of 10, like I didn't bag on it as much as some people bagged on it. Because I still think Matthew Vaughn is doing decent things with like the look of the movie and some of the fight scenes and like the performances are still fun. I think the characters still, the acting and everything, everybody's trying. It has a few clever things. There's some stuff where Bryce Dallas Howard is like with Sam Rockwell and he's fighting somebody, but she's seeing Henry Cavill like fight people, like her character, fight people and talk to her or whatever. And I thought that was kind of clever. It's got one too many twists and turns. It's too long. It's over 2 hours, way too long for what it is. And there's like 95 twists and turns, especially in the last hour. And some of the ones that are just unnecessary that you didn't need. You could have one less twist. But I didn't think it was like the worst thing, but I felt like people kind of bagged on this movie immediately. I thought it was an okay spy thriller, but Matthew Vaughn, man, I don't know what's happened, man. He's starting to fall off, dude. He has such a great start with Kick-Ass, First Class, and Kingsman all back to back. Like that's a hell of a first three movies, man. Like that is some shit right there. Like you are firing. And then like Golden Circle, I like, but a lot of people didn't like. And then The King's Man was boring. I did not like that movie. And then Argyle is like just not up to the same standard either. So I don't know what's going on with Matthew Vaughn. He's in a funk right now. And now I don't know what he needs to do to get out of it. He's talking about doing like another Kick-Ass movie, and I'm like, I don't know if that's the answer, but we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still gonna check it out. Whether it hits a streaming service or
it's on. It was an Apple movie, so I'm assuming it's going to be on Apple TV Plus. But
okay.
I don't know how many people have Apple TV. You might be able to. Sometimes those Apple movies you can rent them, on VOD or whatnot. They pop up. You might be able to see it via an alternative method somewhere. I'm sure at some point once it hits Apple TV Plus. But yeah, I mean, maybe I could use some more opinions on it.
Okay. Yeah. So
yeah.
I
think I have like maybe 3 more for this category, but you go next. If you got one, you go next.
I didn't. Yeah.
I don't want to like ramble and hug all the time. I know you've seen other stuff.
Yeah. So I have a couple.
Okay.
A couple for this tier. And the first, I'm gonna make this a little bit smaller actually. just so I can.
Sure.
Mean Girls.
Mean Girls. Okay, I
I
didn't see it. I almost did, but didn't see it.
it's on Paramount.
Okay.
That's where I watched it. I know it's a January movie, but like I said, I watched it on Paramount after it came out, and so that's why we're talking about it now. And if you've seen Mean Girls, the 2004,
Mhm.
you've seen this one without the songs. They
Yeah.
don't really change much of the story. Um, and I went in, I was like, it's based off off a stage musical, and I don't know how well that's going to translate to a film. But the fact that they were able to get Tina Fey and Tim Meadows back was pretty cool.
Mhm.
Um, and I think Tina Fey helped write the script, or she wrote the script, um, and so that I think she did a good job with that. I like the songs. I thought most of the songs were fun, and so that was my biggest thing going into it, is like, all right, how are the songs going to be? Because I know I'm a musical guy. I know you're not as much of a musical guy. I know there's musicals that you like, but it's not a
Mhm.
genre that you're like, oh,
It's
I
not a
gotta go
genre
see
that, yeah,
that
if there's
tonight.
one in theaters, unless somebody says it's like the greatest thing since sliced bread, I'm probably not going to go watch it,
Right.
or unless it's a horror musical. I do like a few horror musicals. I like Repo the
Mm.
Genetic Opera, but
I need to watch that still. Actually,
yeah, you should watch
I
it. I
haven't seen
think
that one.
it's a horror musical. It's fun. I think you'd like it. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think everyone's giving good performances here. And Gory Rice, who plays Ned's girlfriend in Far From Home,
Mm.
is and I watched The Nice Guys earlier this year too, and I was like, oh, that's her as well. She's a lot younger.
Yes.
um, Renee Rapp as Regina is pretty good. I knew that I had seen the one that was playing Janice, the friend. I knew
Yeah.
that I had seen her, or at least heard her voice somewhere, and that's because she's Moana. Like
Mm.
that's it. That's why I recognize your voice. Um, so that's what I mean. They got I think pretty decent singers to be in this movie. So yeah, my biggest you know thing was, are the songs going to be good? Because I
Mhm.
liked the 2004 Mean Girls. I think it's really good. And so yeah, I came out of it and I was like, you know what, I'm I'm okay with that. I liked that. I didn't hate it. So
Sure. Sure.
that's what I got for this. I think I have one more, but I'll let you go ahead and
Yeah, you can throw Arthur the King in there. Because yeah, this was one I fully expected to kind of be somewhere around this tier if we did the show, because the trailer shows pretty much the entire movie, so that was
right.
expected. And when I saw the movie, I was like, "Yep, the trailer pretty much showed the entire movie, just with extended sequences." And again, there's nothing like technically wrong with it. It's well enough. Mark Wahlberg's okay in it. What's his name? Shang-Chi. Yeah, Simu Liu. He's all right. He plays kind of a plays kind of a influencer, racer guy, that's a little bit, full of himself, but kind of gets humbled a little bit, whatnot. So he's okay. It's got that underdog sort of, it's like a sports movie because they're doing this like, race where they're biking and they're hiking and they're ziplining and all kinds of stuff. It's entertaining enough. Like, it's not boring. I wasn't bored with it. It moves along at a decent pace. And anything with dogs, like if there's dog, stuff, I have the potential to get emotional because I am a dog person and I did lose a dog within the last year. So like, that's kind of stuff where there's a dog in peril can get to me,
Yeah,
just personally. So, especially if you are a dog person, like that
right.
stuff can kind of get to you.
Which is
So
understandable.
yeah, so I mean, it's okay, it's all right. If this one pops up on a streaming services, you could do worse with 90 minutes. It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I'm gonna check it out. Yeah,
sure.
but I had the same thoughts. Like, oh, that trailer is showing a lot, but you know what? I'll check
They
it out.
do, they do, pretty much. Yeah, yeah, you get the idea. I mean, when the trailer itself, and I mean, I'm just talking about the trailer. When the trailer showed them crossing the finish line, I was like, oh, so you showed the whole movie? Yeah, it's right there.
Right. It's
That
like,
you didn't have to show that, but all right.
exactly. It's like, oh, so they all make it.
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah.
All right, one more that I have for this tier, actually, is Ricky Stenicki.
Okay.
Um, I saw the trailer, and given the recent track record of John Cena comedies and Zac Efron comedies, I wasn't super excited
Hmm.
for this movie, but it's Amazon Prime, so I'm like, I'll check it out. It's a new release, and
Yeah.
I'm trying to get that number up. I got those, I got Matthew McConaughey talking to me. Those are rookie numbers. You got to pump them up.
Hmm.
So, and it was a lot better than I thought. I thought John Cena was really funny. I thought, Zac Efron, Jermaine Fowler, and what's the other guy's name? Is it Andrew? Oh, let me look it up real quick.
Oh, I didn't
The
see it.
other
I couldn't tell you.
Andrew Santino, yeah.
Oh, okay.
I believe
Yeah,
is a
he
stand-up
was.
comedian, right?
Yeah, he's a podcaster and a stand-up. He was in the House Party remake also. He played like the
Right.
awkward white, like tropey,
That's
neighbor of just
right.
like, hey, I'm down with the brothers, rock, solid, like doing that thing I hate in movies. Yeah, yeah, he was that guy.
Yeah, but I thought it was interesting because I think the trailer shows him, John Cena, being hired by these guys to play Ricky Stenicki,
Mhm.
um, and then getting hired at Zac Efron and Andrew Santino's company that they work at, um, and and we were like a good hour into the movie before that part,
Mm.
the hiring happened. So there's still a lot of movie afterwards that the trailer really didn't show. And so I wasn't sure where the movie was going to go. And I thought once you know the party ends and we think Ricky's leaving and we don't like, okay, what's going to happen now? And I was very interested. I was very into the end of the movie, and I was like, when the trailer, I was like, Zac Efron, John Cena, comedy. We'll see. Um, but I think they give really good performances. I think William H Macy is hilarious in this movie. But he was the main reason I was like, I'm gonna give this movie a chance because I think he's just great.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, there's places that this movie goes that some of it's actually kind of heartfelt, and I thought, it's I can't put it on the tier above. Not going to make my end of the year list
Right. Yeah.
because those are movies that I'll probably end up rewatching, and then
Mm.
you know was I wrong about that? um, I'm probably not gonna go back to Ricky Stenicki anytime soon, but it is one of those where I can recommend, like, hey, if you want to watch a comedy and you want to
Yeah.
just have some fun, I could recommend this if you hadn't seen it yet. I
Yeah. I'll
like
probably
a
get to it. I'll get to it at some point this year. Yeah, when I have one of those, lazy Sunday afternoons or
yeah,
something. I just want to pop on like a breezy comedy that I can half pay attention to. I'll probably watch it. Something like
right,
that.
like a six
Yeah.
and a half, 7 out of 10. So I think that, yeah,
Sure.
like that's perfect
Yeah.
for this tier. This and Mean Girls both.
Yeah.
That's kind of the rating I gave them.
Let's see. I'll go Ennio real quick. I'll talk real quickly. Saw that this past weekend. For this thing. Yeah, I wanted to like Ennio a lot more than I did. You guys
Mhm.
know how much I like Clint Eastwood westerns and whatnot. They have the Ennio Morricone music. If you don't know, it's a documentary they did about Ennio Morricone that they pretty much kind of completed right
Yeah.
before he died because he died in 2020. But they completed this, and it's just kind of just now rolling out. Hitting the limited releases and everything. It's very long. It's 2 hours and 40 minutes. It's a long documentary.
Long for a documentary, yeah.
So it's very comprehensive. I mean, if you want them to see them talk about damn near every movie he made, you can watch this.
Oh wow.
To where like I was watching this movie and we're like 40 minutes into this documentary and they haven't even gotten to him doing movies yet. They're still talking about him playing playing trumpet for like variety shows, Italian variety shows in the 60s. And I'm like, they get to the movies at some point, right? Like that's really what I'm interested in. So that took a while to get to. Once they get to the movies, it gets a little better because then, you know, we pretty much start with like a couple of these experimental indie, you know, Italian movies he made, and then you get to like the dollar stuff. So like that stuff's good, and you know you get they kind of rotate the talking heads depending on what he's talking about. So like Sergio Leone comes on in some archive stuff and talks about that. You see Clint Eastwood like talking about that, you know, that sort of thing. So a few people, depending on what they're talking about, and they go and they pretty much just go chronologically through his entire career, which it doesn't make for the most interesting documentary. I got to say, most of the ones we've seen kind of weave a story within like, you know, bouncing around or something. Right. And this one's very just like, and then in 1984 he did Once Upon a Time in America, and then in 1986 he did The Mission, and then in whatever he did this movie, and then in 1990 he did this movie, and here's him talking about it for 5 minutes. So like it's not the most exciting thing you've ever seen as far as that goes, but it's very informative. The closest thing I could say they come to like making a story thread is there's an interesting thing he brings up about his mentors and some of the people that taught him, that back in like the 50s and 60s, music composers, or excuse me, I should say movie composers, were not really respected in the music community as far as like being real musicians. It's this weird, interesting thing where he talks about how it took him a long time for his mentors and his teachers to come around to respecting him as a true composer, which is a weird concept that I didn't know about, about this like weird inner rivalry in the music scene of like people that don't think making movie scores is like real music, which obviously I completely disagree with, but they had this like thought about that. So that was the one kind of fascinating thing I found, and as far as what he talked about as far as that goes. But so like it's not bad. I would have probably rather have watched it in chunks at home, you know, because then I could have digested it a little bit better, because it was a very, very long experience in the theater as far as what it goes. But it wasn't terrible. I mean, it's just kind of a straightforward documentary. Not much story to it, essentially. You know, just a comprehensive history of Ennio Morricone. So if you're interested in that, go watch it. So there you go. And on the complete opposite end of the spectrum, as far as content of movies, Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 2. So yeah, I didn't hate it. I liked it. I mean, it's a significant improvement over the original. So if you hated the original, give this one a shot, because technically speaking, it's better. Acting is better. Story is better. The kills are better. The special effects are better. Damn near every market you could possibly make it better, it is better. I think it genuinely has a fairly interesting story with a few revelations that I didn't see where they were going. It's almost a reboot of the original, with what some of the way they explain some of the character origins and whatnot. So it's almost like somewhat of it's like an Evil Dead 2 situation. You know, Evil Dead 2 is kind of a reboot of the first one, kind of, sort of. It's very similar. Even within this movie, they have a movie within the movie, a la Stab to Scream, where, you know, somebody made a fake Winnie the Pooh movie within the Winnie the Pooh movie, based on the story that Christopher Robin told about these people being killed by this bear in the woods.
Wow.
So it's where this horror kid is like watching the movie in the middle of the movie. So it's interesting. But they amp up the body count, especially there's a rave scene with like 30 people. So that gets torn up. The Tigger stuff is fun because he's clearly doing a Freddy Krueger thing when he finally enters the movie. It's a good time. And so each one kind of represents a different character, because you have Owl who's in there, but he actually talks and philosophizes. So he's like, so he's like Pinhead from like Hellraiser. Tigger's like Freddy, and then Winnie the Pooh's like Jason or Michael Myers, essentially. And then Piglet's not really a factor. But the owl is interesting and kind of a fun addition. He's the one kind of orchestrating everything and letting them loose on the town. So there's some fun stuff, man. I think it's a significant improvement over the original one. So even if you had stupid fun with the original one, I think you'll have legitimate fun with this one. Like it's actually I really, really enjoyed myself for the most part. So again, not a great movie, so I can't put it in like one of the top 2 tiers, like a significantly like amazing movie. But I think for what it's doing as like a silly horror movie, I think it's pretty fun. I enjoyed it.
Nice. Yeah, I didn't get to the theater the 3 days it was
Sure.
it was playing, but
I would imagine it'll either drop. I mean, the first one dropped on Peacock, right? Eventually, so
yeah,
I'm sure this one will drop on Peacock as well at some point this year,
yeah,
maybe over the summer or something. So
right.
should be able to check it out.
Yep, I'll get to it as soon as I can. And then along with the what is it, the Twisted Childhood Universe or whatever they're calling it.
They had even like a thing before the movie that played this like 5-minute thing with the producer and the director of this movie where they give you a little behind the scenes sort of sneak peek of what they're doing of the Bambi movie that they're doing. They even showed a clip from the Bambi movie with a giant deer like wrecking a car. It was pretty fun. Yeah, so it's gonna be a little revenge movie. They talked about kind of the concept of the Peter Pan movie about this guy just kind of snatching kids in the middle of the night, essentially promising them he's gonna take them to like a Neverland and taking them somewhere else, essentially. So kind of a creepy concept there. And then there's a Pinocchio movie coming out as well. So they're doing those
Pinocchio
3
or something.
Yeah, that they're gonna do the 3rd Winnie the Pooh movie, and then I think the Poohniverse movie, the Avengers sort of movie that they're planning. So yeah, it's gonna be ridiculous. So yeah, they kind of gave a little sneak preview of that, so that was interesting.
What a time to be alive.
Man, I'll tell you what. Let's see.
Next year is not going to make the year list, but
pretty entertaining. Yeah, I could put quite a few movies in this tier actually. So,
I've got three for this tier.
Yeah, I've got quite a few of those sort of 7.5 type movies. So stuff for this tier. So got quite a few.
Yes, why don't you go ahead and do a couple.
Let's go with a recent one. Let's go Immaculate. Immaculate is, I think better than what I thought it would be. Again, it's not going to get a super, super high rating because I've seen a dozen horror movies almost exactly like this as far as the premise goes, because it's essentially Rosemary's Baby, The Omen, that sort of thing, the religious horror, very similar to that. But it's short. It's another like 82-minute movie, that flies by. It has some cliche sort of jump scary stuff in the first half. Once it settles down, it has a pretty crazy 3rd act where she kind of goes nuts on some people. Sydney Sweeney does. She's giving a pretty good performance here, like a much better performance than in Madam Web. So if you want to actually see what she can do, she's pretty good here. The rest of the cast is pretty good, mostly character actors and whatnot. But yeah, it goes to some crazy over the top places. It has a pretty wild ending, for where it goes. Again, not a shocking one as far as me personally, because I've seen these so-called shocking endings before, so it didn't shock me as much. Maybe some other people in the audience, but yeah, it goes some fun places, and it's a good watch because again, 85 minutes, nice little rated R horror movie that gets a little bloody and gets a little crazy, a little bit of a conspiracy sort of creepy cult thing going on a little bit with them too. Yeah, not bad, enough intrigue to hang me in there. So I enjoyed myself with Immaculate.
Yeah. Jordan, JPO. Sad to see Argyle and especially Drive Away Dolls so low. So actually, Austin is much higher on Drive Away Dolls than I am.
I had Drive Away Dolls in the second to the top tier. Like I had it way higher than Jacob did. To be fair,
yeah, I wasn't a fan. But maybe on a rewatch, my opinion could change. Because I wanted to like it, but yeah, there was just something about it. I was like, I don't know. So, and I haven't seen Argyle yet, so
yeah, I liked it, didn't love it, liked it enough
for his nuns with guns. Um,
Yeah.
it is my fault.
Yes.
Um, we'll talk later, JPO. All right. What else did you want to put in the?
Oh yeah, like I said, I could throw quite a few things on there. I could throw Roadhouse in there. I enjoyed me some Roadhouse.
Okay.
I had a good time with it. I don't have any kind of nostalgic attachment to the original, so I was open to a reinterpretation, a new version of this. And again, is it trying to be high art? Is it trying to be, Shakespeare? No, but that's what I appreciated. What I think it knew exactly what it was. It wanted to be just a brutal kind of bar fight, movie with a little bit of Jake Gyllenhaal kind of fighting the locals and over and uncovering sort of a bigger sort of thing going on, like that. You could see everything where it's going, coming from a mile away, essentially. But I was surprised at how much I got invested in it and his character and what we kind of reveal about what happened to him as an MMA fighter. And then, yeah, the only real negatives I had about the movie, it's got weird CGI stuff with it. Like this, like sped up stuff. Like there's a scene where he almost gets hit by a car and it like speeds up for like some reason, like really goes into like fast motion, and it's kind of weird. Got these like goofy CGI moments with it. But the fights are good when they're brutal when they need to be, but they have a tinge of humor to them as well. There's a scene where he beats up a bunch of these bikers and then he drives them to the hospital because he feels bad. So, there's like a humor to him where he's just like, and they're all just kind of sitting in the back seat, with ice on their head and whatnot. He's just like driving them. And he's just like, yeah, I'm sorry about this. When he gets to the hospital, I brought you some people for tonight. My apologies. That sort of thing. No, it's fun for what it is. And he gets kind of, he gets a little brutal when he needs to, but I thought it was a good time. Conor McGregor is a proper psychopath when he needs to be. He's fun when he finally pops up about halfway through the movie. It matches his real personality because he's a psychopath in real life, and his character is equally as psychotic. So it works. I thought he did what he needed to do.
Yeah.
So yeah, I again on Prime for free. You could do way worse than Roadhouse. I had fun with it. It's good popcorn entertainment. So yeah.
Yeah, JPO feels the same. Zero attachment to the OG.
Yeah, and I would have seen it in the theater as well. Like if they put this in theaters, yeah, I don't see why you wouldn't have put a Doug Liman movie in theaters. But yeah, and there's a guy in that group, the hospital group, that like pops up throughout the movie later, where he didn't want to fight him in the first place. He's the one guy in the group that's just like reluctantly fighting, but he says that essentially when he like right as he throws his first punch, he's like, oh no. And he like just goes to fight, and then he pops in and out of the movie, and every time you see him, he's just like, hey buddy, how's it going? How's it going? Just gonna head this way. You do what you got to do. I'm gonna go this way. So yeah, it's fun. I think it was very self-aware, and they had a good time with it. So yeah, it's a good popcorn time. I liked it. Yeah.
We're going to go from one streaming service to another
Yes.
with Orion and the Dark.
Okay. This is all you.
Yeah, it's a DreamWorks, the better DreamWorks movie that came out this year. over on Netflix with Jacob Tremblay, Paul Walter Hauser, Angela Bassett, giving some really good voice performances. Yeah, Paul Walter Hauser is dark. Jacob Tremblay's character is just absolutely scared of just about everything. He has the wildest imagination, and he is visited by Dark one night, and he has taken them on this journey to try and maybe not be so scared. And yeah, it was a lot better than I thought it was going to be. It was. I was in between the I didn't hate that and this tier, and I ended up going with this tier because I do think it's a really, really solid animated movie with some really great voice casting, and could it be a sneaky best animated feature nominee? Maybe I could see this one maybe gaining some traction. It also just depends on what else comes out this year, because it could also just be a slow year due to the strike and whatnot. But I really liked it. It's currently one of my favorite animated movie of the year, but that's not really saying much. There's only been a few.
Sure. Yeah,
But
we
it
don't
was
have a
it
lot
was a
of
lot better than The Tiger's Apprentice, which I'm still conflicted about.
sure.
Uh, yeah, okay. That he was back to Roadhouse real quick, and
Yeah,
then
no, he has a line there where he sees him near the end of the movie and gives him some information. He's like, I just really like riding motorcycles, and you can't really ride motorcycles around here without kind of getting in a group. So, I just wanted to do that. Yeah, it's funny.
yeah, written by Charlie Kaufman. I think the script is really good here. Um, and I love the way it's almost Princess Bride esque too, in the fact that it's Jacob Tremblay's character as an adult telling a story to his daughter, um, but it's actually like a story that happened to him, and so it was really cool, the way they were able to do that, and then yes, pro wrestler Paul Walter
I
Hauser.
just watched his match with Matt Cardona from Revolver on that Triller TV app
Mm,
because his event that
okay,
had that was like 2 weeks ago or something, and yeah, they had a match with Cardona at that
okay,
show. So yeah, he did good, man. His match with Sammy Callahan should be pretty fun
yeah,
because
I
they
might
did
have to get that free trial and
because they did a similar thing
watch
with Cardona where they did like a no DQ match so they could, do some stuff and have some people
that.
interfere and he could, they could do some weapon stuff, things like that. So I think it'll be similar because I think they're doing like a street fight with
Okay,
Sammy. So yeah, they can kind of do the same thing. Maybe have some people like interfere and help him out, that sort of thing. So yeah, he did good. He did good. He was all right.
all right. He's also one. I don't know if he's gonna stay like this, but like he's like a Sam Rockwell, Ben Foster, and was like I don't know that he's given a bad performance yet. He's been in some not so great movies, but he's been pretty good.
They announced him at the show as Emmy and Golden Globe winner Paul Walter Hauser,
Nice.
which was great because it's all true.
Yeah, we might have to
Maybe we'll see.
after 12 hours of WrestleMania this weekend. We'll see.
Yeah.
um, but all right, you got more for this tier. You
Oh
said
yeah. I've got quite a few, a good chunk of these actually. So you might as well just move them up there real quick, and then like I'll talk about them afterwards. So throw
okay.
Ghostbusters up there, throw Godzilla Kong up there, throw Land of Bad up there,
All right.
throw
Yeah.
throw Out of Darkness up there. Yeah, a couple of
So
those ones. Yeah,
boom,
boom,
boom. Land of Bad.
boom.
You said
Land
Out
of
of
Bad, Out of
Darkness.
Darkness. Yes. I don't know where to throw Wicked Little Letters because I walked out. So wherever you want to put that.
Oh, that's the one you walked out of. You.
That
That's
was the
right.
one I walked out of. So I guess yep, that's a movie just for me personally.
Okay.
Uh, and then I'm on the fence about Spaceman. I'm not sure. Spaceman could even be in that top tier. Maybe I'm still thinking about that movie. So maybe.
Well, it's funny that you say that,
Yeah.
because I'm here with it.
Okay.
I'm willing
I could go
to
either
bump it
way.
up. So yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah, I could
we
go
can
either
talk
way.
about
Maybe
it.
depending on when we talk about it, but yeah, I think, and then the rest of those, I'm trying to like not load up that one tier, so I'm going like for that top tier, I'm going like my 8.5 and up, out of 10 sort
Mhm,
of things.
mhm.
Just why not? Because yeah, otherwise I'm going to load up that middle, that second tier with like everything except
Yeah.
for three movies. So I'm going to stretch it to 8.5, and I'll save that then.
All right. So
So,
did I forget one then? Did you mention?
uh. No, I would put the rest of those in the top then if I go my 8.5 rating and above.
All right.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. So yeah,
hmm
we'll make it a little bit bigger now.
hmm
So all right. So yeah. So which one do you want to start with then? Yeah.
I
Top
mean,
four here.
yeah, I won't spend too
You
much
wanna-
time on these because obviously two of these are still in theaters, so I don't want to say too much.
Yeah.
Ghostbusters and Godzilla Kong are still in theaters. I liked Ghostbusters for what it was. I know it's getting kind of mixed reviews, but it felt more like a traditional Ghostbusters movie as opposed to Afterlife, which I felt like was more of like this family drama with a tinge of Ghostbusters. I felt like this one was more of that with like actually having like a villain, a little more emphasis on the ghosts and like a lot of the teamwork stuff. And it was kind of what I wanted from Afterlife, which is the older guys doing, some stuff to help them out, but really a focus on kind of the newer characters, and I was totally fine with that. Performances are good. The only real like criticism I had is there's too many characters. They introduced a couple new characters that we didn't really need. I don't think you need Kumail Nanjiani and Patton Oswalt in this movie, but because I think you could have had their role, or at least the subplots that they have, be given to your existing characters, if that makes sense. And they could have done the same thing, and it really wouldn't have changed anything. So there's just too many characters going on, a few too many subplots, and the villain is not really properly introduced till about an hour into the movie. I think you could have introduced him a little bit quicker. But yeah, I mean, other than that, like I still had fun with it. I laughed a couple of times. I enjoyed the chemistry between all the characters, and I was never bored. So like I was entertained for the most part. I enjoyed it. I would watch it again in the future.
Nice.
Godzilla vs. Kong, I'm a Godzilla guy. And look, it ain't Godzilla -1. I don't think hardly any movies are. But as a pure monster fight movie, holy shit, does this movie deliver. This movie delivers on the monster fights, and it delivers on the silly entertainment. The human stuff is not good, as with the previous one. The human stuff is boring. Brian Tyree Henry, I don't know what he's doing in this movie. He's just hanging out. He adds nothing to the movie, and I like him, but he adds nothing to the movie. Rebecca Hall is there to just narrate the film, essentially, deliver the exposition that she needs to deliver to get us from one scene to the other. But the Kong stuff is really good in this movie. It's a good Kong movie. He has like personality and a lot to do in this movie, and a storyline, that makes sense, that I liked. He has a purpose. They have some nice comedic moments. There's the little monkey in the trailer. Like, you think he's going to be annoying, but the relationship he has with Kong actually ends up being a lot of fun. Their kind of dynamic is good. I wish they introduced Scar King a little bit earlier. Like, he's the main kind of antagonist. They wait a long time before you get to him. When you get to him, you get like a long sequence with just the apes, like with no people, and it's just like this scene, and it's pretty cool. Like, they don't have any dialogue or anything, but you get exactly what's going on. And then Godzilla, comes in to kick ass every now and then. He goes fucking Super Saiyan in this movie, and it's awesome. Nice. So, and we talked about it a little bit, but any movie where Godzilla suplexes King Kong is pretty fucking awesome in my book. So I couldn't help but have a smile on my face for a good chunk of this. So yeah, there's some good monster fighting. So if you enjoy a good monster brawl, you'll have a good time. Just the human stuff is there to just get us from one scene to the other. But once we get to the monster stuff, it's pretty good. It's pretty entertaining. So take it for what it is. You'll have a good time. Land of Bad is Behind Enemy Lines for 2024. I should say it's pretty good. Not amazing, but like good. It's guys get stuck behind the enemy lines. They got to make it out. They're in a tricky situation. Russell Crowe's on the radio. He filmed you could definitely tell he filmed his role in like 3 days on a soundstage, because he's just on the radio the whole time. He doesn't have any direct interaction, with the main character, because he's controlling these drones, that are kind of helping him out, get out of the sticky situation. But the action is good. The effects are good. The performances are good. And it's entertaining. A little too long, maybe about 15 minutes too long, but otherwise entertaining and good. So another really solid movie. Out of Darkness is another one that I think will slide under the radar. A lot of people won't see, but it was the one with like the sort of it's set like 20,000 years ago or whatever it is, like something like that, like 20,000 BC or something, with like this tribe of people that are trying to move to a new location, and they're being hunted by something and they don't know what it is. And yeah, it's a lot of really good natural lighting, technically very well done. Again, good performances, a little tinge of horror, which I liked. It would be a really good streaming movie. Like, this would be a really solid one that, again, like 90 minutes, doesn't overstay its welcome. Good little development of the characters and their dynamics and whatnot. Subverts a few expectations as far as which the characters make it out and which one don't. And kind of a little twist at the end as far as sort of what you kind of learn from what the movie's teaching you, sort of a thing. So it's hard to describe without spoiling it, so I won't. But I'm just saying it goes to a place that it is interesting. So I liked it. Good stuff. So I know, try to roll through those quick so we don't spend too much time, blabbering on. But yeah. And I think everything else, if I'm stretching again my out of 10, I'll go like to the 8.5s that I will stretch to that top. like again, my 8.5 probably won't end up being a contender. If it's anything like last year, you had to at least be a 9 to like even be in contention. Because like Missing was a
Right.
9 out of 10, and that was a contention
Right.
for a while, but until like the second half of the year, till I got even more good movies. But for a while, it was. So I would say like
Mhm.
a few of these could be, but some of my 8.5s probably won't be. But they might be like honorable mentions at the end of the year, that sort of thing. So I think anything that could be an honorable mention territory for the end of the year, I can put up in here and be all right,
All
and
right.
I'll be okay with that.
So yeah, we'll just go ahead then. We'll just move the rest of these
You could have, yeah, basically called this tier the Dune Part 2 tier,
for,
and everything
for
else.
the yeah,
Yeah, I mean that works.
Dune
Yeah,
Part 2 and everything else. Because yeah, I guess that makes sense. Like Dune Part 2 is probably not a contender. It's like a definite.
yeah. The Dune Part 2 is the
It's a
one
lot.
definite that will be in there. That's like the 9.5 out of 10, like pretty damn close, to being perfect. Um, but yeah, so that's the one that will more than likely make it, and then some of these other ones might either make a low top 12 or like an honorable mention type thing, but really worth your time. I would say
Yeah.
all these are.
Yeah. So I'll just speak on Suncoast real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
Suncoast, streaming on Hulu, starring Nico Parker, who's a young actress, Laura Linney, and Woody Harrelson. Laura Linney plays Nico Parker's mom, who and her brother, Nico Parker's brother, is disabled, and is being taken to like a hospice care because he doesn't have much time left. Um, so Nico Parker, she befriends some popular girls at school and starts like developing a relationship with them, um, and just kind of, you know, changing who kind of who she is. She meets Woody Harrelson, who's at the same building a lot because they're protesting um, somebody else who's like, hey, just feed her. It's a whole subplot. Um, and they develop a relationship, and I think it's just a really good like kind of like a coming of age drama. Um, some really good emotional moments, especially towards the end. I think it's a really good representation of what like a mother daughter relationship could be like. I think they handled that really well. Um, and yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I'll admit it. At the end, I
Mhm.
shed a tear. There,
Hey.
there were tears starting to come down. I think, yeah, the emotional moments here were really earned.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, really solid performances. Yeah, it's streaming on Hulu. I would highly recommend it. It's currently my number two of the year. Yeah, it's hovering in that 8.5, 9 range for me. And so yeah, because it's number two right now, like I had to put it here. Like who knows? Uh, will I see 8 movies better than this for the rest of the year? It's a good possibility, but
Probably, but yeah.
right now it's top two, and so it's right now it's a contender.
Mhm.
So I really enjoyed it. I don't know if it got a theater run at all, so I don't know how much awards love it's gonna get. But like I know some awards do like that best young actress thing, and I
Mhm.
think Nico Parker could definitely be considered for like best young actress for the year because
Yeah, yeah.
she was incredible. Um, but yeah, why don't you go ahead? We can kind of save Dune and Spaceman because I think those are the other two that we
Oh,
kind of
okay.
have
So
in
those are
common.
ones.
So if you want to,
Those. Okay, so you saw Spaceman as well.
I
Okay.
saw Spaceman. Yeah, I
Cool.
watched
Cool.
it a
Cool.
couple days ago.
Gotcha. Yeah, well, hit some of these other ones. Yeah, Sting was the mystery movie the other night. So I don't even think it's actually out yet, but I got a chance to
Hmm.
see it. Yeah, so just kind of an early review here. But yeah, it's the Spider movie, the new Spider movie, which so it kind of is what it is. But I like the aesthetic of it. I appreciate a good one location movie. It mostly takes place in this one little small apartment building. It's like 3 stories, I think. The main girl kind of crawls in and out of the air ducts, going from apartment to apartment, spying on people and whatnot, doing her thing. So that kind of plays into the plot. It's got a little dynamic with a stepdad, new stepdad who, again, she's, kind of iffy with, but he writes like these stories that she likes, these cartoons or these little graphic novel type things. And yeah, and then the spider kind of comes into her life and starts growing very quickly and gets out of hand. And there's some brutality that happens. And what I liked about this movie is it's rated R and they don't hold back on it, man. This movie gets bloody. This movie gets bloody, gets pretty crazy. There's some good kills. There's a good sense of humor about itself as well, though. It's like some legitimately like pretty good comedy. There's a grandmother character who has like sort of dementia, so she keeps, but they play with it in a comedic way, not like a tragic way, but like they goof with her a little bit, and she keeps, forgetting things and calling people different names, sort of like Mars Attacks, the grandma keeps saying, calling him Thomas, in that movie. It's the same type of thing.
Thomas is my favorite.
Yeah, it's very similar to that. So like, it's fun. I had a good time with it. There's a character who's very into like science, who has a very dry delivery. He's fun. But yeah, the spider gets very big and becomes a problem. And look, maybe I'm biased, Jacob. I like animal attack movies. I do. I did a whole tournament fights where I hosted basically an animal attack tournament. I pick it on regular horror all the time. I love the animal movies. So maybe I'm a little bit biased. Some people might not like it as much as I did. But man, I had a really, really good time with it. And again, it's like 90 minutes. I mean, they don't overstay their welcome. We get in and out, and I dug it. I dug the blend of just the right amount of humor to serious stuff. Like once he gets going, just the right blend. So I really thought it was a nice mix. One Life was another little kind of small surprise that sort of came out of nowhere. I missed it when it was the mystery movie, but then I caught it later. And yeah, it's this very simple sort of World War II setting story, kind of set before Hitler started really invading Europe, like, because the whole thing is all these refugees are in Prague, and in Czechoslovakia. They've kind of fled Germany and Austria, and they're they're struggling, in these slums and whatnot. And it kind of is told back and forth between current day Anthony Hopkins and like, or 90s, whatever it was, whatever the movie set, something like 80s or 90s, something when he set, and then a younger version of him in like 1940. And it's the story of him starting this drive and like this organization to try to get kids out of Czechoslovakia and into Britain and into England, like, and get them into temporary foster homes to keep them safe, to get them out of there. So it's the story of him trying to get all these kids on these trains and get them out of there and whatnot. And so it's a really engaging story. I was surprised at how much I got engaged with it and really connected to it. And then it has some really, really emotional stuff. I'll say this. I don't know if I personally cried, but I will say that the theater around me, there was a lot of sniffles in the theater at the end of this movie. So yeah, it worked. It worked its magic and did its job. And again, just a really simple story and a true story at that. Like, this actually happened. And there's so many of these true stories, Jacob, that like would make for really good movies like this. That like, we just, they're all out there. We just got to find them and make good movies out of them. But I was really surprised at how much One Life really got to me and stuck with me, and I'm still thinking about it. So really, really enjoyed it. Yeah, it's worth a look, because it's probably ending its theatrical run pretty soon. So I'm sure it'll pop up on a streaming service fairly soon. So yeah, I would recommend that. Love Lies Bleeding was great. I enjoyed this kind of a noir sort of crime exploitation kind of movie. Felt like an 80s movie. It's set in the 80s. It felt like an 80s movie. It was awesome. I love the look of this movie. I think Kristen Stewart's great. She has great chemistry with Katie O'Brien, who is ridiculously sexy in this movie. I'm not ashamed to say it. She's kind of playing the sort of bodybuilder who's trying to get to Vegas, do this bodybuilding competition. They develop a romance. Ed Harris plays a real creeper with a creepy, weird, greasy, long haircut, half bald, half long haircut, and he's got some nefarious things going on. Dave Franco plays a proper shithead in this movie. He's great. But yeah, I mean, it's just got this vibe of like this 80s movie and I really liked it. Really stylized, really really fun. But it gets serious when it needs to, and becomes like kind of a crime thriller. And yeah, I was surprised at how much I really got involved in this too. And this is another one kind of came out of nowhere. It leans into the R rating, and it's kind of an experimental movie, and I dug it. Yeah,
Okay,
it's a good
nice.
time. So I would recommend that as well. And then if you're a horror fan, you've heard about Late Night with the Devil. It's very very good. It's essentially played just as an episode of a 70s TV show, the way they shot it, with a few interludes that they call like behind the scenes footage, where in between the commercial breaks, he's kind of backstage, talking and whatnot. The actual presentation of the movie is presented almost exactly like a 70s talk show, like a Merv Griffin, like a um, Mike Douglas kind of show, from that era, Dick Cavett, things like that. So I instantly recognize that kind of stuff because I watch those shows, Jacob, some of those
Yeah,
things on YouTube. Like I like that stuff. I go back and watch old interviews of guys, Mo Howard, and watch like Andy Kaufman and watch some of these old celebrities, going Muhammad Ali used to go on Dick Cavett all the time, things like that. There's a guy in it that plays a skeptic, when they bring on the supposedly possessed girl. He's basically playing the Amazing Randy. I don't know if you know who the Amazing Randy is, but he was this guy who used to go on all these shows back in the day, and he would offer money to anybody that could actually prove that they were a psychic or a telepath or anything like that. And he used to be a magician. He would show how all the parlor tricks are done, and he was like one of the original skeptics, on TV. And there's a guy in the movie essentially playing him. So if you know the Amazing Randy, he's playing that guy essentially, and it's so accurate. It's really, really like almost scary accurate how they get the aesthetics of the show. And the David Dastmalchian performance, he's becoming a new king of horror, kind of like Justin Long. He's in a bunch of horror movies, and he's great. And this is the best performance he's ever given. So if you like him at all from Suicide Squad, or if you like him, he was in Last Voyage of the Demeter, he was in the Ant-Man movies, things like that. If you like him at all, go out of your way to see this. He's great. He's really, really great in this movie. So much so, like, we talk about those movies that like they'll never get nominated for an Oscar because they're horror movies. But like,
right.
if I could throw one out there so far that could, is as good as anybody else I've seen this year in a lead performance, it's David Dastmalchian in Late Night with the Devil. He's amazing in this movie. So he carries
Nice.
it, and he's so good. So yeah, I recommend it. It's still kind of in theaters right now if you can see it, but I know it drops on Shudder like mid-April. So
Oh, nice.
as soon as it's a Shudder production or distribution, so it'll be on Shudder in like 2 weeks. So if you haven't seen it, you can catch it on there, and it's worth your time.
Very nice. Yeah, I do have Shudder, so I will be.
Nice, yeah.
I'll
Very
be
soon. I'll let you know when it drops, and yeah,
Yeah.
check it out. It's really really good. So it's a lot of fun.
For sure.
Uh-huh.
All right. So yeah, Spaceman. Is one. Yeah, I watched it a couple days ago. I was pretty excited for this movie because again, it's a Adam Sandler Netflix movie, but it's not an Adam Sandler Netflix
Not
comedy.
a ridiculous six Adam
Yes.
Sandler Netflix movie. Yes.
So, and I didn't watch the trailer. I just knew that it was an Adam Sandler Netflix drama, and I'm like, I'm in because Hustle was really good, and I'm like, yeah, I mean, he was great in Uncut Gems. Anytime he's put in a dramatic performance, I've liked to loved the movie. So I was sure that this wasn't going to be any different, and I was right. For me personally, I would have it in the not going to make my end of the year list right now. But it's one of those where I could rewatch this, and I wouldn't be surprised if that rating went up because I think this is it's a pretty different Adam Sandler performance than we've seen. Like as far as drama, yeah, it's not like any of his other performances. I think it's weird to say that this far into his career, it's like, hey, if you don't know that Adam Sandler can act, watch this movie.
I think we've got more than enough examples now at this point in his career that you can point to and say, no,
Right.
he can act. Like when he gets the right roles and the right directors, and like he really wants to show you something, he can do it. Like he's up there, man. Like he's got the chops for sure.
But if you're still a hater,
Yeah, I don't.
Like he's
I
not
don't.
just
I
he's
think we're
not just a
past. I
comedy
think
guy.
we're past that. I think some people
I
are
think we
just
are
tired of.
now, but
I think people still tired of occasionally seeing something pop on Netflix, and it is one of those movies, and you're like, oh come on, you're better than that now. Like, come on, you're in like 50s now, Adam. Just do
yeah,
these interesting movies now. Just move on from that. We got enough of those comedies. You're good.
he gave us Hustle. And I haven't seen it, but I haven't heard the greatest things about Murder Mystery 2. Uh,
Yeah, can't
but
imagine it's as good as Spaceman or Hustle, but yeah, no.
yeah, no. Yeah, and then you got other great actors in here, like Paul Dano giving the voice of Hanush, I think is the name that they end
Hanush.
up that they end up going with, and Carrie Mulligan,
Mm.
who I think is just a fantastic actress. Um, if Emma Stone didn't do Poor Things last year, she was my pick for Best Actress. I loved her in Maestro.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, Adam Sandler working alongside really good actors, and I think the final product that we got was really really good. Um, Again, I want Adam Sandler to be like people think I'm an Adam Sandler hater because I don't like Billy Madison. I'm gonna stop that right now. I just don't like Billy Madison. Okay, but I
Right.
love Adam Sandler, um, and I want him to get that Oscar nomination. I don't think this is the movie that's gonna get him that nomination.
No, but I think the closest he's come so far is Uncut Gems. Like that
Yeah,
was the one that came close because he won an Independent Spirit Award for that. And there was that like outside chance. I think it was just there was competition that year, so he just didn't get in there.
he wasn't
That's the
number six
closest.
though.
But I know he's doing another movie with the Safdies, or at least one of the Safdies. So like
Nice.
so something else maybe down the pipe. And yeah, I think he's in that part of his career, hopefully, where now that he's older, and I think he's kind of moving away from the kooky comedies. I think he's kind of started to move away from that, to where, yeah, he's going to do interesting projects like this. I wouldn't be surprised if he eventually gets some kind of Oscar nomination for something, because I totally think he's capable of it. We've seen him
Yeah.
come very, very close, a couple times, even with Punch Drunk Love. I think he came close, but I
Right.
think he might have been nominated for a Golden Globe or something, but yeah, he just didn't get
Yeah.
anything. But yeah, that was close also. But it's there. He's so close. It's there. He can get there eventually. Yeah, Spaceman's great. I like trippy, weird sci-fi stuff. Like, me, I like 2001 and, trippy, weird stuff where you're not sure maybe exactly what's going on the whole time, that I can just kind of vibe with the movie and just let it take me on this ride. And yeah, to where, when Hanush shows up, and we should say it's like Paul Dano voicing this sort of spider creature, alien sort of thing. But I think
Great
one
voice
thing is,
performance, by the way.
oh, great voice performance. No, he's terrific, and their chemistry is excellent. You don't know if he's real or not. And I think even by the end of the movie, you still don't really know if he's real or not.
I'm still
Uh,
unsure.
yeah, I mean, I think it's up for interpretation, not like the bad ambiguity, but like the one where you could kind of make an argument one way or the other, to where he's on this solo mission in space going out to like Jupiter. So he definitely could be losing his mind. They say he's not sleeping, not sleeping very well, which can cause hallucinations and delusions. So like, you don't know. But yeah, it's this movie where he kind of has to face his own sort of existential stuff going on in his life. He's got to, look into himself as far as, his relationship with Carrie Mulligan and like some of the choices he's made in his life. And Hanush kind of helps him sort of face all those sort of things. But yeah, again, it's a different performance from Sandler. Like you said, it's not like Uncut Gems, and it's not like Punch Drunk
No,
Love. It's a completely different performance. Yeah. Where he's just basically almost a one-man show. I mean, he has the stuff with Paul Dano, but it's very much like a facial performance, and what he's doing. Sometimes he's just talking into the radio by himself. He's good, and yeah, and it gets trippy and weird near the end, which I like. I like when movies get movies like this get trippy and weird. As far as when he gets to his destination. But I really really enjoyed Spaceman, and the sign of a good movie, Jacob, is if I'm still thinking about it like a month later, and I still am.
mhm,
So that's the sign of a good movie. Yeah, to where I could come
right.
back to this, 6 months from now and still really enjoy it.
Yeah, and like you said, the sign of a good movie is thinking about it a month later, and just like
Yeah.
you're thinking about Spaceman, I'm also still thinking about Dune Part Two.
Yeah, me too.
I, it's so good. I don't know what's going to come out later this year that could rival this movie as far as the technical stuff,
Mhm.
but just give it all the technical awards now.
Yeah.
This movie came out before this year's Oscars, and I was like, can we just go ahead and give this movie the 2024 awards because the sound
Yeah.
quality is great. The production design, everything, even though it's mostly sand, whatever. Uh, like all the production design, the the score is
Score is awesome.
fantastic.
Yes.
Yeah, the walls were shaking in my
Mhm.
theater with the sound. It's so good. I
Yeah.
think the direction is really good. I think the acting in this movie is a step up from the last one. Um,
Yeah.
Javier Bardem
He's
playing
damn near
acting.
he
He's
damn near steals the movie. He's great. He's
yeah.
really, really good. Yeah.
Um, Timothy Chalamet. He might people might think he's being cast and everything, but I think the choices that he's making are really good. He's done like one movie a year, but I think they're just so big that people feel like he's just all over the place. Uh,
Well, and right now, like, I mean, it kind of overlapped. Like, Wonka was still in theaters when this came out, so
right,
like he was in two movies at the same time, and like even Zendaya to a degree, she's in this, and this will probably still be in a few theaters when like Challengers comes out, so she's
right,
kind of
yep.
everywhere. It's like these people that are just kind of, well, that's part of the delay too. It would have been if it had Dune come out last year or whatever, but
Exactly, yeah, yep.
yeah, no, Chalamet, like, I didn't know if he was going to sell me on like this lead, like when he kind of uh, and this isn't really spoiling anything, when he kind of like embraces the Messiah role or whatever, and whatnot. Like there's
Yep.
a scene in front of a council that like is what really sold me on it, that he
So good.
could have that sort of power, like in his performance and that gravitas, and like he sold me like for sure. So yeah, I've really, really enjoyed. I just didn't like Wonka. Like I know I'm in the minority, but what, I just didn't like that. But I've liked some of the other stuff he's done. He's good in Bones and All. Like he's really good in that movie.
Mm.
So yeah, he's definitely kind of stepped up his game. Zendaya is the only one thing about the movie that I'm like still iffy on. She didn't do a lot for me in this movie, just
Yeah,
personally.
which is
Um,
weird. She's a great actress.
yeah, I just, to
But
me, it's like the only negative of the movie that keeps it from being like a 10 out of 10 for me is like I feel like their relationship was like very pushed to the side. Like I didn't feel like that. It was like I didn't totally believe at the end that like they were in, like when he says, I'll love you till my last breath. I don't know if the movies really earned that up until that point. Like that's just me personally. Maybe there's stuff on the cutting room
yeah,
floor, like a few more scenes I think would have done it for me. I wasn't fully invested in that subplot of the movie, but like everything else I was fully in on. So like
right.
it's still like super entertaining. So it's a minor thing, but like that's the one thing that's like 9.5 out of 10 just for that one thing. That's it. Like if I had been fully invested in that part, it'd be like a perfect movie. So yeah, I'm very close though.
Yeah, it did seem like they were hitting it fairly hard in the first half of the movie, and then yeah, that second half it just kind of became like,
Yeah,
yeah, there's still a thing, but we're gonna
sure.
focus on this other stuff. Which I don't know. I haven't read the book. I don't know if it's actually like that, but whatever.
I think they
People,
changed a few
have like,
things, but that's another
yeah,
discussion for another time. So I
right.
don't know. I can't say firsthand, but from what I've heard and what I've read, it's slightly different. Yeah. And like, as with most movie adaptations of books, they take a few liberties and change a few things for, what's going to make the best movie.
And unlike last year, where I was super high on Spider Verse and thought it was going to get a Best Picture nomination,
Hmm.
um, I think Dune 2 will get that Best Picture nomination. I think it's going to get a
Yeah.
lot of awards. I think it may be like the first Dune though, where I don't know. Again, it depends on what else comes out this year and what other performances we see. But it could be one of those again where it's going to get like the technical awards,
Hmm.
and maybe a Best Director, maybe a Best Picture. Well, not maybe a Best Picture and a Best Picture, but maybe none of those like acting categories.
Yeah.
Although Javier Bardem,
I would push,
I got
yeah,
hope
if I
for
was going
that.
to push anything, Javier Bardem for supporting actor. Yeah, he's tremendous in this movie.
Yeah,
He carries, like, he really sells you on the story, like, essentially, and like this Messiah thing. Like he's the one that really sold it for me because I believe him, at one point.
yep.
And yeah, and if I'm that invested, I think, yeah, he's terrific. Like he's so, so good.
Yeah. So yeah,
Mhm.
it's my number one of the year so far. And I loved it. I don't know what could top it this year, but
Sure.
I'm gonna go into every movie with an open mind, and
Yeah, yeah, no.
who knows? The next movie I could see could be my new number one. That's, uh, but I mean, except for you know some of these movies that you put towards the bottom that I haven't seen
Yeah,
yet. But
probably not imaginary. Yeah,
yeah, no, it's an interesting tier list. Yeah, I love that we have a lot more movies towards the top this time, whereas in January, it was a
mhm.
little bit smaller. So yeah, no, I this is great, and I've got some really good recommendations because yeah, there's what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 movies in those top two tiers that I
There
haven't
you go.
seen
There
yet.
you
So
go. Well,
a lot
hopefully,
of
at
good stuff to
least,
look forward to.
hopefully, yeah, at least give you that for when they come out on streaming and whatnot. And you can have some good entertainment for sure.
Yeah. So
All right.
um, and just for yeah, this was our just to yeah, there we go. This was January. Just a reminder.
Uh-huh.
Um, yeah,
Yeah.
this was what we had. It wasn't quite as much. Um, we had four tiers and less than half of the movies that we discussed
Yeah.
tonight. So, but overall, I think it's been a decent year so far. I think last year was a little better at this point,
Sure.
but there's still a lot of good stuff that I'm looking forward to. Well, I can't say that I haven't seen the movies. There's a lot of stuff that I'm looking forward to that look good.
Sure.
Uh,
No,
so
again, but when I look at my overall list, I've still been more positive than negative on movies. So it's always a good
yeah, me
sign
too.
that,
Me too.
I've gotten more entertainment than not entertainment. So that's always a good thing.
Right. So yeah, no, that was fun. I'm looking forward to hopefully doing this for April and not having to skip a month like we did for February.
Yeah.
Um, so
I should
yeah,
have like 4 already by the end of next week. So I'll be off to
nice.
a good start. And
I
then,
know there's
hopefully a couple after that.
a movie coming out on Amazon Prime tomorrow called Musica, which I believe is directed by Rudy Mancuso, who I think uh, came to be famous because of Vine or something like that. So I'm gonna watch it for sheer curiosity, and that's it. Because I'm not sure if he's acted or directed anything before, so I'm highly curious to see what that could be. Because there's been some first time directors who knock it out of the park.
Yeah.
So who knows?
Yeah.
Um,
Like Deb
but
Patel for Monkey Man, which looks awesome, which I'm looking
yeah, I'm,
forward to,
I'm
things like that.
definitely looking forward to that one. So
So
yeah,
yeah.
April looks like a decent month. So yeah,
Mhm.
we'll come back in about a month and
Talk about
recap
it.
April, but we'll also come back a lot sooner than that to talk about some other things. Like tomorrow night, we will talk about some wrestling, specifically WrestleMania 19 and WrestleMania 40 when we give our predictions. And then Friday, we'll talk some TV. Your 32 against my 32, and that should be a fun time. So. Um,
Yeah. All
So
right.
yeah, we'll go ahead. We'll call it here. Yeah, that's some stuff that you can look forward to coming up on the channel. And then yeah, hit the like button, subscribe, share. Check out all the other channels that we also pop up on Take Three, Purisco, things like that. So uh, yeah, hopefully we gave you some recommendations. And again, let us know in the comments if you've seen any of these movies. Where do you place them on the tiers? So that is Austin. I'm Jacob. This has been a special episode of a podcast about movies.
Mhm.
Um, we'll see you tomorrow for Lonely Marks. Have a good
Bye.